The release of Bloomburrow saw a lot of cards at lower values, and that had the players wondering where the value of some of these singles is going to go. But in today's video, we have to discuss one of the Bloomburrow cards that just spiked over 522%. I hope you held on to your Bloomburrow cards after release because there's going to be a lot of shifting prices for this product. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thank you again for hanging out with me on my channel. And a reminder, if you enjoyed today's content, to like and subscribe to the channel. So what are we talking about when it comes to Bloomburrow? Well, the official release has come and gone, and already some players are looking beyond to other products. But Bloomburrow actually has a lot to offer players and a lot of cards that really are kind of unique and haven't been worked out yet. And they're also having a whole commander effect in the secondary market. So in today's video, we got two cards to share with you and to kind of discuss what's going on. One of these cards, of course, is a Bloomburrow card, and one of them is going to be a reserve list card that is seeing a lot of action right now in the secondary market because of Commander. So let's start out with our first card. I know you guys are excited to talk about it, so let's see this one. So here we have Inkeeper's Talent. This card has gained 522% in the last couple of days. Now you can see the average price for this card is $16.68. The market price is $14.49. I don't really care about a foil for today's conversation, and it's €3.53 to get this card into your house. But this Bloomburrow card has a lot going on. I have deck tested this out a couple times now. I wanted to get a feel of how it would be utilized, and let me just tell you, this thing can be brutal, and it gives your opponents something to worry about. Number one, it's a low casting cost, 1 green, 1 generic. It also says at the beginning of combat, on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control, so it's going to make your stuff a little bit bigger, a little bit tougher. Now it also at the top there in bracket says, gain the next level as a sorcery to add to its ability. So depending on how you use this thing, each of these effects is going to stack onto the next one. So this first one that says level 2, that's 1 green that says permanents you control with counters on them now have ward 1. So as you give the counters, more of your creatures are going to get ward. It makes them just a little bit more difficult to deal with. And by the way, adding equipment that has ward also kind of just makes things harder for people. So keep that in mind as an aside. And the last one, level 3, for 1 green, 3 generic, it says if you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many counters on each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. So I may have messed up the word salad on that one, but I want to talk to you about this card, okay? I've seen this used a couple of ways. Number one, very effectively, just spreading it among creatures, making things bigger, harder to deal with, is the general effect people will worry about. But what you should be thinking about is outside the box thinking. It says counters that players already have. So in the case of a card like Vraska that says you can minus away, the difference between the amount of counters of poison means that player's going to go, if they have no poison counters, they're going right to 9. But then it says double the amount of counters. So they go to 18 and they die instantly. And there's nothing the player can do because it's going to happen by turn 4 and 5, and a lot of things have been drawn out. That out of the box thinking can really make an effective deck. Now, I've used this card a couple times. I've had it used against me a couple times. Keep it in mind. And what a lot of players are doing with this card when they mix it with black and green is they are going ahead and giving you the landfall creature to worry about as well, the rat guy that gives you the little kind of, take 1 point of damage whenever they put a land into play, and they're having all these fabled passages to start dealing damage to get you kind of worried about things, make you deal with those. They have the Inkeeper out, gives you another target, and since you're focused on the creatures and eliminating, you're not going to see Vraska come for you, and the game ends instantly. Keep that in mind. This is one of those cards that is going to be in standard, and that Inkeeper's Talent, because of its versatility across multiple deck constructions between white-green, green-red, or it's going to be green-black, that's going to offer some incentive for players to build with a card like this, especially the low casting cost, okay? Do I expect this card to go above $20? Not only is it going to go above $20, it's going to go a lot higher than that. Because here in Canada, at $25 Canadian, it's already sold out. And you're having a hard time finding new stock because players who recognize the greatness of the card aren't selling it back to their local LGS, it's going to cause a supply and demand issue. Does that mean more boxes will get opened in the next few weeks? Well, if the price keeps trending upwards, that's exactly what will happen. You need enough opportunity to make the risk worth opening more boxes. Cards like this going up in value in Bloomburrow, those weird stray cards that have now caught a mainstream audience, that's exactly what's going to happen. And there's also the Commander faction of players who will want a card like this to be utilized inside their decks. So keep it in mind. Now, as we jump in, let's take a look at the next card. Now, this card has only gone up 121%. It has risen, but it is part of the conversation today because it is being affected by cards in Bloomburrow. Now, first I'll show you the card from Bloomburrow, then I'll show you exactly what we're talking about for the reserve list card. By now on my channel, most of you are familiar with Flubs the Fool Extended Art. This was the box topper card from the Play Booster boxes, and you can find it inside the collector boxes of this product from Bloomburrow, but this card is directly related to what's going on in Commander right now. If we take a closer look at Flubs, just for those who may not know, Flubs the Fool is a 1 red, 1 blue, 1 green legendary creature frog scout that's a 0/5, okay? Under the text, it says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card. If you have no cards in hand, otherwise you discard a card. So that makes perfect sense now, what this card can do, and there's lots of ways. People have been using the Gushta Scepter as one of those really early buyout reserve list cards, and it continues to have strong sales now, and the supply issue is something players will have to factor in if they decide to buy the Scepter, because the Scepter from the reserve list was never a sought-after card, and a lot of them have ended up in bulk bins that players would have to look for to add more stock to the market, and it's just not going to happen right now. There's a reason why we have a low inventory and why the prices continue to rise on the Scepter, but that's not the card we're talking about. See, this is where things get just a little bit more crazy, because as a player who will look to find the Scepter, they're also going to look for other cards that do the exact same thing and can help them build a better constructed Commander deck. That's what it's all about in Commander, is the one of. Being able to build this deck quickly, get it, and being able to use it and play with it and see if it has the kind of potential you're hoping as a Commander player, means every avenue is being just scorched earth. Let's find the cards that are going to work with this thing to make it even better. And that's where players on this weekend kind of went a little bit nutty buying this reserve list card from Legends. So the card we're going to discuss is Knowledge Vault. This went through a buyout, the price is surging, and although it's not being captured here by MTG stocks, this thing has not just only had a buyout, the price has surged because of the supply of a card like this. It's never been sought after other than 2021, 2022, just during the general buyouts, but this card offers a little bit more. First, the price. The average price is $31.74, but if you look on TCG Player, you won't find any that cheap. The market price says 35 bucks and it's 36 euros. So those don't really add up to what we're seeing in the market, especially if you're trying to ship to other countries. Be aware of that. This card is from Legends, and it is by one of my favorite artists ever, which is Amy Weber. So now let's take a closer look. It is a 4 casting cost generic artifact. By today's standards, way too low, but in a Commander game, it's a little bit different. You can pay 2 and tap it. Take a card from your library without looking at it and place it face down under Knowledge Vault. Sacrifice the Knowledge Vault to discard your entire hand and take the cards under the vault into your hand. If Knowledge Vault leaves play, put all cards under the vault into your graveyard. So now you get what this card does, and when we look at how Flubs works, this is just another piece, another stepping stone into making this card more effective and more utilized. But the real kicker for a card like this is Knowledge Vault will not be nearly as sought after in the secondary market as people think. And everyone who's having that FOMO event feeling right now like they've missed out, even I did not catch the sales of that card. It was not a card on my radar that was determined to possibly have higher than normal expected volumes. It sold 1 or 2 copies every couple of months, which means this thing had no action at all. Now it goes through a buyout, players surge to the market and buy the card, but you have to look at how that card's going to be used, who's going to be seeking it, and is there a possible speculator type avenue path here, which has led to a lot of these cards being bought out. And in this case, I absolutely believe it to be that, which means some speculators have bought into this card believing it will be highly sought after, but we have to wait and see if the market accepts it, if players buy it at that price, And if it gets added to a deck like this with flubs that makes it to like gameplay where people say it's a must-have. You've got to have this card added in right away, and your deck's just going to be so much smoother. Until all of those pieces fit into the puzzle, the price of cards like Knowledge Vault spiking 121%, it's just not likely to hold its price. Over time, the market will determine that that card is overpriced. It'll start sinking down, maybe not as low as it was, maybe not to that $12 to $15 range we saw for moderately played copies, but maybe back down to the $20 to $25 range, which means players who wait around a little bit longer before they build a flubs deck will definitely benefit from time being on their side, and a lot of the other people going through the growing pains of building a deck like this, letting it be constructed, letting it go through all of those little pathways of least resistance and great resistance to build the perfect deck, and then you can look at what other people have done and make the modifications you'd like to do to build your own deck, okay? That's what I'm thinking, and I hope you guys follow that path, because that's a little too pricey right now for me anyway to look at a card like that. I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. I hope you like hanging out with me on the channel as much as I do seeing you guys every day. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great day in the world of Magic the Gathering. And I wonder what buyout will come next, because Bloomburrow has had a lot of secondary market action. See you guys soon. Well, here we are again at the end of the video, and what do I get to say but thank you. Thank you to all the patrons, my supporters, my YouTube membership members who make this happen each and every month. Because of those players, we get to do daily uploaded content, we get to be part of the Magic community, and we get to discuss some amazing topics, amazing cards, and such an amazing game. There's a lot of amazings in this conversation at the end. I'll see you guys soon with another video. Welcome back to the Ramble Jamble. You're here at the coffee section of this video where I'm going to drink coffee in front of you. That's right. Now, some updates about Knowledge Vault. If you're asking if I have any, I have one. It's part of my collection I've had since I was a kid. I just like Amy Weber artwork, the whole skeletal thing. It's one of those things I really enjoyed as a kid. So I do have the card. But the kicker of this one is it is already selling at over the $90 mark. When you look on TCG Player now, you can see a whole bunch of sales listings at above the $90 mark, which means this card is going to hold its price a lot longer than I thought it was going to. We're going to see this thing go probably for a couple of weeks and then slowly trend down. Now, by trending down, I'm thinking $5, $10 a week until we slowly drift down to a market standard of where we think this card is going to be valued at. Until I see a completed flubs deck that actually plays well, though, I don't think we have much to worry about in terms of the overall value of things like the Scepter and that. We're going to have to wait and let all those things work themselves out, and I can be happy watching from the sidelines until those market determinations happen, because anyone who buys reserve list cards probably owns cards like this already, and we don't have to worry as much. Which is why when reserve list prices are low, buy some of these cards cheap. Buy them when they're like $5. Just buy an array of them. Buy one or two of a whole bunch of different cards. There's 572. And then you'll never have to worry again. See? Easy. No stress. Have a great one.